Good morning, room 15. This is Mrs. Lopez. Today is Wednesday, as you can see back there, April 29th, 2020. We are oh so close to the month of May, and I am so excited about that. Also, we are on the last chapter of Mrs. Patty is Batty. Can you believe it? We're done already. There were only 10 chapters in this book. So, without any hesitation, let's go ahead and get started. It's a long one. Chapter 10, Marvin the Headless Mummy. Behind the door was a big dark room, and it was full of kids. I couldn't see much, but I recognized Neil the nude kid and Annette and some other kids from our class. They were just sitting there, like they were waiting for us. It was weird. In the middle of the room was a big trunk. It was like one of those trunks that pirates use to hide their treasure. Michael asked, "What's in the—" But he never got to finish his sentence because suddenly the top of the trunk started to lift up. A hand was pushing it open, and then this thing got out. It was a mummy with bandages all over its body. But the weird thing was that the mummy didn't have a head. Well, it had a head, but the head wasn't on top of its shoulders where it was supposed to be. The mummy was holding its head in its hand like a football. "Eek!" screamed Emily. "It's Marvin!" I shouted. "Mrs. Patty's dead husband! His ghost came to life!" "He's the Halloween monster!" yelled Ryan. "We're gonna die!" Michael screamed. "I told you we should have made a run for it," I shouted. "Wah ha ha ha," said Marvin's head. I had no idea how it was able to talk, but it did. It said, "Give me your candy. Put everything in the trunk or else." The head didn't have to ask me twice. I ran over and dumped all the candy from my pillowcase into the trunk. So did Ryan and Michael and Andrea and Emily and Neil the nude kid and Annette. I guess the mummy made all the kids turn over their candy because there were about 1,100,000 candy bars in the trunk. "Wah ha ha ha," said Marvin's head as Marvin danced around the trunk. "It's mine, all mine. Now, at long last, I have more candy than anyone in town. My life is complete. Wah ha ha ha." "That's what you think." We all turned to see who said that. A big guy stepped out of the shadows at the other end of the room. He had a crown on his head and a sword in his hand. It was Mr. Klutz, our school principal. "It is I," he said, pointing his sword at Marvin the mummy. "King Louis the 14th, in the name of France, surrender the candy." "Over my dead body," Marvin said. That was really weird. Everybody knows mummies are dead bodies to begin with. Marvin grabbed the sword off the wall with the hand he wasn't using to hold his head. Then he and Mr. Klutz started sword fighting, just like in the movies. It was cool. "Get him, Mr. Klutz!" we all shouted. "Kill the Halloween monster!" Mr. Klutz and Marvin were dancing around, swinging their swords at each other. "Off with your head," Mr. Klutz said, with taking a wild swing. "His head is off already," somebody yelled. "Oh," Mr. Klutz said. "Let them eat cake." The sword fighting was really exciting. Finally, after 1,100,000 minutes, Mr. Klutz knocked the sword out of the Halloween monster's hand. "Please have mercy," Marvin said as he fell to his knees. "Begone," Mr. Klutz said. "Don't ever steal candy from the children of elementary school again." "I'll get you, my pretty," said the Halloween monster as he ran up the stairs. "And your little dog, too." "I don't even have a dog," said Mr. Klutz. After the Halloween monster ran away, Mrs. Batty came downstairs. "Hooray for Mr. Clutch!" she yelled. We all started cheering. "I have defeated the Halloween monster," Mr. Clutch said. "I mean Louis the 14th. "We should celebrate," Mrs. Batty said. "Let's have a candy party." "Yeah!" we all yelled. Mr. Clutch and Mrs. Batty tipped over the treasure chest and dumped out all the candy onto the floor. We were allowed to eat whatever we wanted and take the rest home. I ate so much candy I thought I was going to throw up. It was the greatest night of my life. After eating all that candy, I couldn't fall asleep for 1,100,000 hours. I just lay there in bed, thinking about all the cool stuff that happened. Maybe Mrs. Batty does keep her Halloween decorations up all year round. Maybe her husband Marvin really is dead. Maybe she did chop his head off and turn him into a mummy. Maybe that's why he's so mad and he has to run around the house holding his own head. Maybe now that he lost the sword fight to Mr. Klutz, he'll be nicer and stop taking kids' candy. Maybe Marvin and Mrs. Batty will get back together and just be normal people again, even though one of them is dead. And maybe Mrs. Batty will be able to get that wart off her nose. But it won't be easy. The end. Tomorrow we start our new book. We're on book 14. We'll be taking our sneak peek, and I can't wait to show you what it is. Until then, see you next time.